Welcome to the EdTechUnpacked podcast, where we inspire and equip educators to create meaningful learning experiences, highlighting a thoughtful approach to the integration of technology as we teach and transform the lives of our students. I'm Aaron Long.
And I'm Desmond Suarez, and we are passionate about helping educators learn how to better use technology to engage their students. And today, we are so blessed to have Lisa Highfill, the co-author of the Hyperdocs Handbook, and on our show today. And we've just in chatting with you, it's been such a blessing already. And we're excited to pass this on to our teachers about the power of Hyperdocs. And it's more than just a fancy Google Doc. Trust me. That was my first mistake, but that's how I got to know Lisa, is that I made that mistake on social media and asking for help. And I was introduced to Lisa. And Lisa, it's so good to have you here. Lisa is the middle school teacher at a hybrid school, which I think is really cool, a hybrid public school, Pleasanton Virtual Academy. And Lisa, do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me on to talk about my favorite topic, making lessons for kids. And this is my 31st year teaching. I've been in the same district in Pleasanton, started as a fifth grade teacher, and then went to a tech integration specialist in the district, and now just found my happy place in educational options in a virtual hybrid project-based learning school where I'm trying to put all the buzzwords into like actual action with kids and seeing how it turns out. It's been amazing.
That's really cool. It's one thing to talk about them in theory, but so much better to put them into practice.
Yes, and scary and fun, and yeah. Makes me not want to retire now. I have to stay there. I just finished my first full year of a middle school teacher, and now I think I'm just going to keep going.
Keep going if it's keeping you passionate, right?
Definitely.
That's cool. Thank you again for joining us. And we're going to start with our get to know you question. I'll go to you first, Aaron. And leave in the comments if you guys want to share your first experience. But what was your first aha moment that you remember with Google Docs?
All right, this one's easy for me. And what was funny was right before we jumped on our recording session here, we were discussing this. Now, we didn't share our answers with each other, but Lisa commented that sounds like we might all have a similar first experience that sticks out. So here's mine, okay? I was a sixth grade homeroom teacher and had been using Google Docs personally for a number of years. And I remember the first time I created individual documents that were collaborative for students. And it wasn't just that I'd set them up and invited them in and they were doing some collaborative story writing, but I put them all on my screen, each document. And so I had 6 or 8 documents. Each document was a group of students that were actively co-writing a story. And I could sit at my computer and watch all of the story writing happen at once. And I was just like, wow, I've arrived. This is amazing. So that's mine.
Awesome. Lisa, let's share yours.
Okay, it was similar, but just a little different. I've always been a table girl on Docs, and I wanted everyone to have their own space. I was teaching fifth grade and like, don't touch me, get out of my space. And so that moment when everyone was kind of lined up and in a spot in the table and they're all typing at once. And I was like, oh my God, look at this. And I was screen casting it, like recording it. I had never seen anything like that. I thought it was incredible.
That's fantastic. I think mine was middle school as well. It was, and I think my first real one was actually in Google Slides. I'm going to accept that. But I'd used it, I played around with it, and then brought it to my students, and they were all jumping between slides. And of course, it was a little bit of a let's test this out and play with it. I can't remember. I had some kind of assignment with it, but they were they were so shocked that they could see all the stuff they were doing, and then, of course, you saw the twinkle in their eyes of middle schoolers of deleting each other's stuff and hiding things and the power they got drunk on real quick. But yeah, I was like, this is gonna be really powerful with collaboration, and it really has been. Collaboration is one of the really powerful things with Google Docs.
Those aren't too far off from one another, so I do think we all kind of stayed in a similar vein of collaboration that we were witnessing and enjoying. All right, so Lisa, you literally wrote the book on Hyperdocs. Okay, so they're rather new to me other than having read most of your book. Okay, so I did appreciate that opportunity to really prepare as best I could for this by reading your writing. And so Desmond as well, I think, had that opportunity. He went, didn't you go physical book and I went Kindle? Is that
Yeah,
what
I bought the
happened there?
physical book, and
Okay.
I think I remember first hearing about Hyperdocs when on the Google podcast. There was a Google podcast years ago that I think they kept referring to Hyperdocs on, and yeah, that was where I think I first heard about it. But then I read the book.
So I'm excited to hear from you, Lisa, as an explanation for those of us that are either new to Hyperdocs or those that don't know about what they are. What makes them special? Just share a little bit about what are Hyperdocs, what makes them special.
So I wrote this with Sarah Landis and Kelly Hilton, and we were all fifth grade teachers in Pleasanton at the time. And we were just loved technology and loved when the Chromebooks first started showing up in the classroom. But we noticed that they were ruining our good instruction, good pedagogy, because teachers weren't sure how to teach with them. We were putting up URLs on the whiteboard and having kids like try to type those in, and then everyone's freaking out like, I can't get in, I can't get in. And then once, we had sites where you could do like bookmark lists, and so they were just putting the link there, and kids were just, it was like a plug-in feature, like just put them on a website and let them go. And then it was very disconnected. And I felt like we need to maximize this tool. This could be really powerful for learning. And this ebb and flow of on tech, off tech, how do we do this? And we knew it was rooted in good lesson design. So we thought, well, what will we call them? And the name just like, it was kind of random, came out of nowhere because it was we wanted them to be alive, whereas a worksheet, if you print it, it's done. You can't change it. You can't alter it. So hyper meant alive to us, not hyperlinked. We never thought it was that. So it was these amazing Google Docs that we could make alive, and we could shift and change to meet the kids' needs as we were going through a lesson. So it's basically this amazing, like intentionally designed digital lesson that we created with all the purpose and all the little hidden Easter eggs and meaning to it, and you give it to your students to work through. Now, that ebb and flow of how you work through that lesson is just a part of a teacher's craft, and how you design that delivery is really, really important. It's critical, which I know, Desmond, I had to jump in when I saw that comment, because forever it's been called, oh, it's just a doc with links. And so it kind of became our tagline. We're like, actually, you could look at it and literally you can see links on a doc, but it's the hidden pedagogy. It's the design and the delivery that makes it incredible and personalized, and a really special lesson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So going on that a little further, it's like you said, it's not just a fancy Google Doc, which is for years when I heard it, that's what I attributed to. And I've been making my Google Docs fancy for a long time. I love adding the Google drawings inside, and formatting it nicely, and all the different maximizing. I even found out one time how to embed videos into Google Docs. It doesn't work well, but it is possible. But what makes Hyperdocs different than just a Google Doc with fancy stuff in it?
So the biggest piece to that, the most important piece, is the structure. It follows the cycle of learning of explore first, then explain the concept, and then apply the concept. And so it's this very simple cycle of learning of explore, explain, apply. And when teachers are first starting to make them, we just say, start with that structure and build in those sections for your lesson. So it's not just something that they're just passively like clicking on the links and having input. It's a back and forth, an ebb and flow of throughout that learning. So that's like where it starts. I know if you see Hyperdocs, especially mine, we make fun of them. We'll prettify them. We'll make them look good. I change the background color, and I change the fonts, and I have images. They're very specific, and a specific set font for the students to read. Those are all for universal design for learning, and ways that kids would look at a white document, and I was like, it's so much white on the screen and that constant on their eyes. And so if you look at my Hyperdocs, I tend to make them all gray backgrounds. And then everything looks good on that gray background, pops the colors. But the best was the kids would open it and be like, "What is this?" And that first aha, that like engagement, that was their I've never seen a I've never seen a lesson like this. And so that design was really important. And so sometimes I ask teachers, when you look at it and you just see a doc with links, I want you to really kind of psychoanalyze this. It has a lot of intention behind those pieces to it.
And from reading your book, I would argue the package of Google Docs is secondary or even less than that than the intentional, explore was it or explore,
Explain. Apply.
explain, and apply, and the constructivist application there. And with that, I'm just kind of curious, do you ever design them in other tools like Canva?
Man, you
Has
stole my
become a lot
question,
more
Desmond.
powerful.
That's a great question.
I
was
knew Aaron
waiting
always
for that
says the
one.
Canva stuff.
I'm a Canva fan, but I love Google too. So, but
or
I
other
will
services.
just note, your guys' logo is very Google-fied, right? I mean, all your colors and everything. So you're very married to the Google platform. So I was really anxious to hear your answer to this question.
We started there. But you can build, and because it really is packaging. It's really about pulling together all the resources in one place. So I'm gonna keep putting in the UDL stuff here because it's a lot of people don't hear that side to it. And I don't know if we talked about it even enough when the book came out because it was, 2016 when that book was published. So
But it was well embedded in the book. I mean, reading the book,
yeah, you
it
could tell.
definitely was a strong
Yeah.
theme.
So when I'm thinking about packaging, and of course for executive functioning, having everything in one place, when the kid's like, I can't find the paper, and it's like in the backpack or you have things all over the place. This is just in a row so they know and can follow a pattern. So I love designing on slides for that reason. Kids, when I was teaching fifth grade, they didn't think about making presentations. They saw them, they told me, oh, these are cards. These are like note cards. And I always kind of joked, it's like the modern packet stapled by the URL, and every page could be a progress that they could go through. So I love slides. I'll package them anywhere now though. So I will make them in Book Creator. I love making them in Book Creator. They're very engaging through that. I make them on Fig Jam all the time. Actually, I just designed a whole bunch of them for Fig Jam in their templates. I don't know if you've played around with Fig Jam, but it's really a very
I've heard
cool
about it.
tool.
That's
Yeah.
from that is from Figma, right? It's like their
Yes.
Jamboard.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you're at ISTE, make sure you go by the booth and tell them Lisa sent you because I do love some Fig Jam. It's so creative and out there.
We'll have to hit that one up, Aaron.
I just made a note while we were listening here.
Yeah. So anywhere that you can design it and post your things, your curriculum. I think I've even done it on Google Maps, Google My Maps.
That
I've
was
done
in the
it.
book. Yeah.
Yeah. I do them on anything. It's really tool agnostic. It's grown so much.
I love that. And we're talking a little bit about UDL. For those listening, you can go back. We have our previous episode or one very recently, 2 episodes ago or so, we did a whole episode on UDL and it's basically universal design for learning. You are designing it to be accessible to all students, not just customizing it for a few. And I think that's a really cool thing.
So Lisa, just to reemphasize why Google initially was, what came through in the book is like the Chrome plugins that really facilitate that UDL underlying concept. Is that really what, kind of kept you there for a number of years and maybe is still a strong recommendation for that reason?
Well, to be honest too, our district was a Google Apps district, and our students had access to all the suite, and it was just really easy for them to have their Gmail and have access to share it with them, to make copies. I loved it for the revision history. That was going to be my second share. Um, Revision history was huge because we were copying them and having different versions of them. Every time we would edit, we could see the change and the evolution of our lessons grow from year to year. And so it became very comfortable with the drive. Everything was in our drive, and it was all again, executive functioning all in one location. It made it very convenient. When I have kids and I've got it linked out in different places, I have to plan for that now. So I actually use a Google site and make sure that it's easy to remember. They're like, "Oh, where was that lesson?" And it's out of that realm. So kind of keeping the playground uh, in there.
I think that's super important. And the tools have gotten better about this. But when I first started teaching, I was blessed early on to have one-to-one devices for my students. And I was so excited about all the tools. And I used so many of them. And then, especially early on, the cognitive load and the distraction within the classroom that the tools brought to the classroom, where we probably all tried an app or something that took 20 minutes to get the kids active on it. And not only are you wasting that 20 minutes, which is valuable time, but I find the thing that's even more valuable is that you've lost the instructional flow of your class. And so now you got to spend, whatever time you did before pre-instructing, you've got to do that pre-instruction again. And it's like it all falls apart if it's not very intentional and easy to go between. And so years ago, I decided I'm not going to use any tools, as cool as they are. I'm not going to use any tools that disrupt my instructional flow. If I can't make it easy for the students to get into, we're not using it. And the tools have gotten a lot better with that for sure. Well, you guys ready? Let's unpack the tech.
Let's do it.
We like to be as practical as we can on this podcast to give you ways to apply the things right away. We talked about the theory, and I think the theory is so practical for Hyperdocs that I think you could take just the theory and apply it right away in your classroom. Get your students to start exploring things, even if it's not in a Hyperdoc package, but get them to explore it before you instruct, and then apply after the instruction. But today we're going to take a standard. We're going to take a Virginia State standard for grade 3. We'll read it. We'll have it on the screen as well. But the students, here's the standard. Virginia State Standard. I'm in Virginia. Sorry, I chose it. For grade 3. I've never taught grade 3, so this sounded impressive for grade 3. We talk about it in high school in my history class. But the students will explain how the contribution of ancient Greece and Rome have influenced the present world in terms of architecture, government, direct and representative democracy, and sports. And so now, with that standard in mind, we want to, there are, is it 7, right? Key steps to a Hyperdoc. Now, as I read the book, you describe them as just like the starting point. This is not the end. And if I understand it right, there's a few you may or may not leave out sometimes. Is that right?
Yeah, the simple template that we have in our book is explore, explain, apply. But really, like in a good lesson, you want to have that intro, that engage piece. And so the engage can start it. And then in the center, the heart of the lesson is the explore, explain, apply, and then share and reflect are the last pieces. And I hate to ever leave reflect out, but not always does it need to be packaged on the Hyperdoc, the reflect piece. So it depends on how you're delivering it in person, and what's happening before the lesson and what happens after. Sometimes the kids don't need to see all of that. You could do the engage off tech and the reflect off tech. So you might not see that on a lesson.
Okay. And for those of you who are listening who teach in the Adventist school system, our Bible curriculum follows a similar kind of flow. The Encounter Bible curriculum. And so you can apply some of this directly to that. And so, yeah, they go. I'm just going to list them off. We'll have them on the screen. Engage, explore, explain, apply, share, reflect, extend. You want to start off with working through that standard with engage.
Yeah, so I think it starts though, even before that. You have so many decisions to make as an educator. Like, how long is this going to be? How in depth am I going to get? And so, is this a unit? Are you breaking it down into smaller lessons? And so when you're making this hyperdoc, you need to make that decision on how it should go. So I decided, as I was thinking about this topic, I got really excited. I actually want to make this hyperdoc now.
Good.
I was thinking,
If you do, share it with us and we'll
I
share it out
Oh,
to
that'd
our
be
audience.
awesome.
I will,
Love
because
to
I
see
did
that.
find some things. At Hyperdocs, we have teachers give teachers. And so I went into my drive and searched for this topic actually, and have so many bits and pieces that teachers have shared with me that I could pull from and then use my own craft and style to design it. And I thought, let's go for all of it. I have third graders. I want them to understand government and architecture and sports then, and where we can see it in our society now. And so that's where I was thinking. And I thought, oh, it'd be a great unit. But kids are going to find some kids are going to love the sports aspect, some are going to love the buildings, and some might really love the government piece to it. So let's let them explore with a big choice board to start off. Now, I think we even have a whole section in the book about multimedia tech sets. And that name has kind of evolved over the years. We call them choice boards now. And basically, what I do is I curate all my best resources. I found a good choice board for this activity as well. You find all your best resources, and it's got to be a variety of them, whether it be a website, a video, an article. You want to have a nice variety so kids are having experiences with all of different kinds of learning. So my students who struggle with reading, they might navigate towards videos. Those who are more visual learners, they might be exploring a map, because I definitely would have a map for this unit so they even know where these things are located. And I would give them, it would take a while, I would give at least a week to explore this concept. And then get this, I would only give 8 minutes a day.
Oh, okay.
Come into the classroom, sit down, open your choice board, and pick a square. You got 8 minutes. Learn as much as you can. When those 8 minutes are over, I want you to turn and talk and share, what did you learn today? What did you discover today? And then share out in the class, what was the big aha today that you learned about ancient Greece and sports, or whatever you were talking about. That's why you are actively engaging students from the beginning, the onset. They're not sitting there waiting for you to just tell me about this, and then let me fill out the worksheet and turn it in and get credit. This gets them all excited, and it's all about their interest and what they navigate to. I'm always curious about which square they're going to pick on the choice board. But it's kind of like a way to break up with your lecture. I put all my resources in there and let them explore it first. And when they share out, I'm listening. How well do they understand this? And are they like way advanced on the topic? Then I'm going to change my explain portion and I'm going to give them more in depth. If they're like, wow, I don't think they're getting it at all, or they're all skipping the government portion, then I'm going to make my explain focus in on that portion and reteach those parts. And I'll teach directly from the choice board. I'll pick a square and say, we're going to dive deeper into this one today. And those of you who already explored this one, you're going to help me because you know a lot about this. You're building that agency in kids. They feel in control of their learning, not just being told what to do. And it's really empowering, actually, to watch.
So, Lisa, I'm hearing you describe this, okay? And I just have to jump in with a quick question because, I'm picturing middle school kids are on their devices. You've defined kind of the boundaries here, but I'm curious, what latitude do the kids have? If they pick a box, they're looking through the resources you've provided. Are they locked into those? Or do you say you may research beyond that on topic? Like, what's your directive to the kids as they pick a box and explore for 8 minutes?
I tend to say, this is it. This is what you're exploring, because I've vetted the sites. I know
I'm breathing easier right now because the other option doesn't usually go well.
No.
So good answer.
And that's a different lesson. How do you research? and
Mhm.
they're terrible at it. And so I never just let them go on in search. That's a whole different lesson. And so I really narrow down what is my goal from this unit. And I should have said that at the very beginning. What skills do I want them to have at the end of this? And I can't do everything all the time, but I do want to pack in a lot of layers. I will never do this unit was never about just the government, architecture, and sports. It is about the critical thinking. It is about writing and reading and, as many things as I can pack in for skills. Research, probably not. I was not thinking of that actually on this one, this time.
So if I was following right, the engage and explore, are you putting those together
Yeah,
in
I
that
might
lesson?
start off with maybe a picture of like, do you know where this is? Do you know what this is? Just to say, hey, we're going back in time.
Oh, I
Um,
love with this, like pulling up like pictures in Washington D.C. versus Rome or Greece, or even now China has a lot of modern new architecture that reflects that as well.
I probably would engage them with Google Maps because, my theory is everything takes place somewhere, and why aren't we showing them exactly where it starts? And take a little tour and say, "Guess where we are?" You know those. Have you ever done those Google Map games where
Oh
a
yes,
GeoGuessr?
GeoGuessr. I did. My students
Oh my god!
love that. We do it.
We just found our engage. That's what we would do.
And I think you can. I haven't done it yet, but I think you can design your own GeoGuessr games, and so you could pick places that look Greco-Roman, and which would be a great way to use it. We usually use it if we happen to have a few minutes in class. The students are like, "Let's do GeoGuessr." So I got the paid version this year, and I'm also a geography teacher. So I love maps. It's one of my like teacher quirks. I'm looking at I have a wall size map right over there, and yeah, the students just stare at it when when they're staring off, they're looking at my map, and I'm like, keep staring, keep staring.
And the
Uh,
other thing, and I'm so glad you love maps because now we're friends.
yes,
It's my
maps are
favorite
awesome.
too. But I think it's really important that we are not just we're getting kids to be curious and having them like use a map to start off and just let them go and just explore these places. That's where I'd let them go, not necessarily the research, the internet, but on a map. And trying to build those pieces in with the technology, I think is really, really an amazing part to do because they get so engaged and so excited and they build a sense of the world beyond just a picture on in a book or a text.
You know what I love about this too? You think about like, teachers, we get into this discussion all the time about, textbooks and why do we have to stick to the textbook? And, this whole conversation about the learning is not confined within one book, but yet kind of previous thinking about education is, yeah, the textbook is the guide and you go through it front to back. And now, more modern thinking is, well, yeah, it's a topical guide, but we want to go ahead and expand on that. And so what I love about this, though, is the curation. It's very similar to a textbook in a way. You're not turning the kids loose, right? You're not saying, hey, here's the topic, go find out about it for yourself. You're curating the content. And that really, that's something I think a lot of teachers miss out on. Like they live in one space or the other. Hey, we're going to go through the textbook. This is our learning material. Or, hey, let's just turn you guys loose and let you discover things. It's actually less common to find this curated model that expands past the textbook. And so just hearing you talk, I know I'm very much in learning mode today. Okay. So I'm our resident learner. Desmond knows a lot more about this than I do, but I'm enjoying this because I can really see the place for this. Like it's, you're talking about, you published this book in 2017. So 8 years ago, 2016. I mean, it's still like hyper relevant today. I don't think it's gone anywhere. Now, personally, so I'm like back and forth. Would I use Canva? And I'm a huge Canva lover, okay? Or would I stick with Google? I mean, there's a strong case just hearing you talk about that integration piece and your organization alone, I think having an organized structure to it, there's a case there. Anyway, I interjected, but I'm seeing this from a content perspective, and I think it's really neat what you're doing. So I'll let you continue.
I think it marries the idea of the textbook and the tech, and it includes me. and includes me and my craft. And I can't say that enough. I needed to start off with that, is that I'm most proud of my creativity and craft for designing awesome lessons that kids get excited about. And I don't do that. I have to say, though, we also should do a big bookmark here that I don't do a hyperdoc for every lesson every day. That's not the goal. The goal is to do one a month if you want and try it and see your kids' reactions to them. See your reaction. I mean, it's very energizing to be creative and put this kind of thought into a lesson that you've designed and then to see how the kids respond to it.
Do you do it that way, not all the time, basically for your burnout and the students' burnout on the same material?
Definitely. And so that's why I'll even platform them in different ways or package them. And I really try to stick to whether it's a unit so I can organize that unit really nicely. So I don't have like pieces everywhere to a unit.
Kind of like a learning management system in a way, but just like specific for that curriculum, for that unit.
Or I create them when I want a topic to stick and I don't want them to forget it. So you can imagine that I have a really great hyperdoc for learning there, there, and there.
Oh, I need that. No, I think I finally figured it out now in my life.
So that was a hyperdoc that came one day when I'm like, I can't believe you guys don't know this. Like, how many worksheets have you filled out? And then fill in the blank, which version of there? I'm all, that doesn't stick. And I need to see the application carrying over into your writing. Then I know we've arrived. And so I made a lesson and I created a there, there, and there hyperdoc. It was really quick. It took the kids like 2 hours to do the lesson. And they always remembered it. It was really cool. So
that's cool. Now I want to follow up and progress forward. You said earlier that you would do 8 minutes a day for like 2 weeks. Now we're talking, I guess, about a third grade class where you are, being a little more flexible with your schedule. And so, but you can't, I teach high school. I can't just do something 8 minutes a day. I got a 45 to 90 minute period. I have to progress through the lesson. How does that work?
I did it in middle school. I've done it with high school kids. It's bell
Do you
work.
progress? So you progress through the rest of the stuff, but you keep
Yeah.
the engage as an engage every day.
Yes.
That's clicking with me now.
Yeah. So a lot of times my choice boards, and I use those for Engage just because, or Explore, because it's just so nice to curate your resources. And in the center, there might be a Padlet to post all of your thinking each day. And then I would scope that out at the night, and see what the kids were thinking, to see what level they were understanding. I would even color code them and say, the next day, my lesson might be open and closed questioning. And I've highlighted these, which ones are open, which ones are closed. Today, I want you to focus and post in the Padlet your open questions only. And then eventually, I want you to choose one of these questions and try to find the answer in the choice board. So I do a lot of teaching from it where it's student created content. It's not me having to create it each day. So they would come in, it would give me 8 minutes to do roll, lunch count, check in with kids. If I noticed someone needed, wasn't doing well or was just having a day, I even could sit with certain students, my language learners, and do it with them. Or I might sit with my highly gifted students and really push them and say, oh, did you see this square? I was hoping you'd get in there. We need to talk about this government.
So instead of progressing, I was thinking it just completely linear, but you can go back and engage every day. That actually, I really like that. That makes a lot of sense.
So imagine, though, if I gave them 10 questions the first day and say, that choice board is then ruined because then they only are looking for those answers to those 10 questions. And they're like, I'm done. They're done in 20 minutes.
But they can post more questions and other people can
Yeah.
answer them, and
Yeah.
it can be a back and forth.
When you say 8 minutes, they're like, oh, she didn't mean I had to look at everything. And then we'd get them all engaged, like, oh, you should look at this square, tomorrow. And, so I just want them excited for learning. And that is something that I even have to teach adults how to explore, how to be curious. They're like, what do I do with this? I'm done. And we build stamina for that exploration is really important. So it's a big piece to it. And then my explain comes right in there. Yeah, so, I could teach from one of those. I could, as I build it out, have, a specific video that I wanna base the heart of my lesson on and in the explain section of it. I always think about what if a student is absent for my lecture that day or my explain? How are they going to access the content? I also know that how if you're depending what grade you are, no one's listening to you explain. You
What
might
do you
tell them
mean? I take that personally. No.
mm, you might tell them to take notes, but they're thinking about what's for lunch, they're thinking about the person sitting next to them, and so for them to be able to go back and review that concept again later when you're not there is really powerful. So sometimes it might be a tutorial video I made even, which try to keep it under 5 minutes or I know they're not watching it, but they do love I love YouTube for that. I love to get, another version of that explain, and that is where I'm like, "Okay, this is our foundation. You must know at least this." And everything else, I know that they've learned so much more because I wasn't keeping it into my time frame. I was letting them just go off, learn as much as you can in 8 minutes. They learned so many different things, it wasn't as limited, so
So with the explain, it's still independent learning. You're not up there teaching. You might have already pre-recorded something, or they're doing it on, or like watching something that you give them. Is that
well,
correct?
it's packaged that way. It's packaged that way, but often, especially if it was math, for example, I would close your computers, I'm gonna directly teach you how to do this, and or, same with, I love a good lecture. I really do. I love, the storytelling part too, history especially and maps, and I get really into it, and I think they love that too, and I want them to develop listening skills. They need that stamina as well to be able to listen, jot down notes, and that's an important piece to that. So you can design it however you like.
I like that. Now, you want to take us to the apply?
Yes, the apply is the so what, now what? So you learn this, now what are you going to do with it? And the apply, I believe in tests and quizzes and all of that, but that is not necessarily the purpose of my apply. I want them to make it relevant and authentic and current. So if it's authentic, it can't just be seen by me. They can't just fill out some questions and then turn it into me because they'll give you not very good quality work then if they only know. But if they know everyone's going to see this, so I have to. I always think about what is relevant in their lives as well. So I was thinking about the trend for this unit, how we started versus how it's going. And I thought that would be super fun to do with ancient Greece and Rome to today. And I feel like that little trendish thing could be cover all of the topics between government and sports. And I was thinking instead of making everyone do all of it, why don't you pick one how we started versus how it's going and a big sign up sheet so we have like a variety. You'd have to like really coordinate that so you get an expanse. Hey, if they all want to do sports, then we'll all do sports and maybe I'll fill in with the teaching of the government piece. And then I would like find a good web tool for that. Like what web tool would showcase this really well? Of course, I have to go to Google Maps, and I love Google My Maps. I've used it for years, but I also love the Google Earth Explorer, and they've changed it so many times. But we actually did an apply like this with our downtown. We have a cute little historic downtown, and they had pictures of how it used to look and how it looks now. And that's our 3rd grade standard is our town. So I kinda have done this, and they first designed it on a Google slide because you have to practice and write your drafts, and then they published it to the Google Earth where everyone could see. I could share it with one link, and they could go on the tour of and see where these places really are in the world.
Oh, I like that. So they could have different places, and then they look at the town and can explore the different parts of the town.
And you can include images and text in these sections. So as everyone wanted to look at it then. And so then everyone's clicking on the spots around the map. They're reading, they're seeing the images. And it's what happens is everyone's learning again. The student created content is the key here. And they're motivated to do it. And they want to, I would say like, oh, only look at like 3 spots. Oh no, everyone's going to look at all the locations. I find they get to know each other really well from this collaborative sharing and showcasing of their work. So
That's really cool. I love that. Man, the map talk. We're really connecting well here. And so it sounds like the apply and share, just like the engage and explore were combined. The apply and share can often be combined.
yes.
And there's a lot of like back and forth on some of these things. Anything else about share, or is reflect what we should move on to?
I think you got the share. They all see each other's work and it's in real time. This is a big thing about the share, though. I remember the days where stand up one at a time and share your report. And I think about how much time that took to do. And if you've got like 33 students, I was like kind of done after 15. And I mean, no offense to my students, but so was everyone else in the room. And when you change it up where they can, then you turn it, you're back to exploring. And they could explore at any rate, any speed, and where their interests are, and then the reflect. Okay, so you just explored. What did you learn from that exploration? What do you now know that you didn't know before? How do you feel as a historian? Where do you think we're going next? What do you think will stay? So now you can hit hard with these really high level critical thinking questions that can then lead to a writing assignment that could then do an extension
And
for
it would
you.
take you out of the Hyperdoc for
Yeah,
those, the
yeah.
specific document.
Yeah, let's get a piece of paper out and let's just jot down what did you learn that you think will continue on and what do you think will change? Because it's just outdated now. And that could be a great reflection. And it's the cheat proof test
Mm-hmm.
for me. I think that's in a day and age of AI and kids. Like if you could just do it from your experience and your thinking after just going through this experience of this lesson, there's an excitement to it. There's a knowledge base that you've built.
I like
I
that.
was
You
gonna
can't really
ask you
have AI do that for you. Go ahead, Aaron.
No, not the experience piece, but I was going to ask about like how do you apply a grade for this? Like what's the practical side of that?
For that last piece, I grade throughout the process. I'm very much a process versus product person. And so I would collect when they were doing the then versus now, I would definitely have those rough drafts. I would have that writing graded and reviewed. So when you publish, it is ready to go. There's no errors in that writing.
This is one of my beefs. I'm just going to pause about when teachers often do project-based learning, they wait till the very end to assess and apply a grade. And there's oftentimes follies or missteps or things left out that if you had a teacher engaged in that process, checking, hey, you're missing this piece, and it's more of a collaborative coaching going on, then the enriching experience is totally different than if they have no feedback till the end. And so I'm always on a soapbox about that. So when I hear you talk, it's like, okay, I get that. Like if you're engaged at that level and you're applying grades, but it's for the each component along the way, or are there certain components that you grade at, not all?
So important. Also, for me not being up in front of the room, the lesson, they have it. They have everything they need to know is on that document. And so many kids are like, just tell me what to do. And they have to do that critical thinking. I would always say, I trust that you will figure it out. And if you can't, I'm going to circle back around and I'll sit with you. But I want them to take on that first. And so it removes me from the front of the room. I'm walking around and studying them. To what degree are they understanding this? And I'm doing a formative assessment every day and supporting those who do need that support. It's a really important part to it. Yeah.
I love that. I've started being more intentional about like not just answering my students, but like asking them to tell. And I guess I've become so much of a habit of doing that my seniors, they always give each teacher an award. And so this year I got the No You Tell Me award from my students, because I guess I say that so much that they ask me, I'm like, no, you tell me.
Well, that's the UDL piece to it. And it really does build that agency for learning. And what you're really telling them is, I have confidence in you as a learner. I know you can figure this out. Yeah.
And they always squirm in their seat. They want me to just tell them.
You know what comes to mind, Desmond? So one of our very first episodes, Lisa, we had a teacher from within our system, Rosaleth Tenga, on, and She is so she has this a model for her classroom where she does asynchronous learning, but in a classroom environment. And I'm like, man, this would be a cool meetup between you and her because I think you have your own spin on this, but it's very much like asynchronous learning. Everybody's on their own little kind of learning journey within a curated experience, though, and kind of hitting different benchmarks at different points. But anyway, she comes to mind. I don't know about you, Desmond, but this would be a cool like follow-up episode eventually of like, hey, how do you put these together? Because I think there'd be some great sharing there.
And for our listeners, you can go listen to, I think it's episode 2, our screen sharing, 1 or 2, our screen sharing episode where she shares how she uses screen sharing to do a lot of this stuff, or screen recording. So let's end with extend. The students have finished their all their work. They have reflected on it, and I think I remember in school when I was learning how to teach, it was often ending at reflection. Like that was the last thing we do. But you extend that to extension. Tell us, what do you do after the reflection?
Well, I really like I said, curiosity is something that you build in students, and I want them to be curious and not think that this is just a task to complete and turn in, and then you're done. I will put links. If you like this, check out this, and so they can go on and continue that exploration. Might be if you are an extra credit person, you can offer it for extra credit, that some of that learning. But really, I don't. I just be like, oh, did you guys check out that site? And then I find out you did that. I didn't even tell you you had to. I just kind of will like, oh, this is amazing. You got to see this. And so it's fun to see what they'll then go and explore. And it's like the leftovers websites that I just didn't have time to get into.
I love it. We're kind of past on time, except that you mentioned earlier that you've been using AI for this stuff. So I don't know if you can quickly give people a preview. Maybe we can have you on for a future episode to talk more deeply about that. We'd love that. But just give us a taste of how you're thinking about using AI, or how you are using AI to do some of this stuff.
Well, I have to say, it's really fun. I before this episode, I put in create a Hyperdoc for this unit just to see what it would do. Oh my gosh, it knew Hyperdocs. It knew to break it down. I was like,
you're successful. You did it. That's awesome.
I can't believe it. I was like, yes. But I don't do that ever because I need too much like personal control. But the parts that I like to use it for is helping me create essential questions. I think that's a really good part to build out to make sure that they are at a level that I want them to be. I also will look at some of my goals for learning, or to try to see what am I missing in this standard? Like, what are things that I should really include that I didn't think about in terms of government? There's so much you could cover. So I use it to help me narrow down the topic a lot. So I have a clear goal and a clear focus, and then good essential questions.
That's cool. I've used it for similar stuff, exams and stuff, helping me think through what questions to ask. It's been very good. Well, thank you so much for joining us today as our journey into EdTech Unpacked, where we explored Hyperdocs with Lisa Highfill. And Lisa, thank you again for joining us. We learned so much, and yeah, we definitely would love to have you on for another episode.
Oh, I'd love it. Yeah, this is great. I love talking lesson planning. So.
Your energy and your enthusiasm is infectious, so we just really appreciate you being here. And we also invite you to send your questions to our website, edtechunpacked.com, or you can connect with us on Blue Sky or X at EdTechUnpacked. We'd also like to shout out Lisa here, who is also on Blue Sky. You can find her there.
That's how we connected. So I love it.
Right. That's the inception of this episode happened there. Hyperdocs.co is your website. We'll drop links in the show notes to all of these things. Also have an active group on Facebook. Your Facebook Hyperdocs group is very active. And you mentioned this. I just wanted to just come right back to it here before we totally close. But your teachers give teachers. What a what a great spin. There's another site that's familiar. I can't quite place it, but anyway, we'll leave that. Teachersgiveteachers.net, correct? And that'll take you also to the hyperdocs.co site. So great stuff. Connect with Lisa. She's been amazing to join us here today and just share her knowledge. I literally was sitting taking notes during most of this episode, and so I'm excited to kind of go back over that and be able to share this in the future and learn more.
Yep. And it would be so cool to be able to hang out with you guys and encourage you. We really believe that we want to be a blessing to all of you teachers. And we know that God has placed you in these classrooms wherever you are for a purpose, that there are students that need you specifically, that you give them a specific need to fill that you are most qualified to do. Hyperdocs is something that I think can really excite the creativity as a teacher. Teaching, I think for non-teachers, people don't always think of it as a creative pursuit, but I get so excited about the creativity of it too. Aaron and I are both instructional designers in our masters, and we love to encourage the creativity as a teacher. And I would encourage you, like Lisa said, she doesn't do these all the time. The professional does it once a month or so. Take time, do one. Take elements of it, make a simple one, extend it, and keep on making them more and more you. Also, teachers give teachers. You can get some that other students or other teachers have passionately made for you. We hope that this episode and this content can be a blessing to you and your class. We know that you are a blessing to your school and your students. And remember that there is no substitute for great teaching. It is not just about the tools and technology that you use, but how you foster meaningful relationships with your students to transform their lives. We pray that you are blessed.